Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Force for Growth Live. I'm Ricardo.
I'm Michelle.
And I'm Courtney. Good
Oh,
morning. Happy Monday.
good morning. Happy Monday. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you. Pull up a seat, get comfortable, and get ready. Ooh, I'm not supposed to have that one up yet. Um, pull up a seat, get comfortable, get some coffee, get some tea. What are you drinking, ladies? By the way, I know
Uh,
we're just making our chit chat.
I am drinking my coffee with my collagen protein, my MCT oil, and my chocolate soy milk.
Nice, Michelle,
Straight black coffee.
with nothing in it.
Nothing in it.
Wow.
That's the way I like it.
The relentless type.
That is me. I'm have some tea this morning. Black girl tea to be
I love
exact.
your coffee cup. Man,
I know,
that's
right?
a good cup.
This is a good cup.
That is.
I like it because apparently I don't remember. Was it Michelle that was telling me about right-handed and left-handed coffee cups?
It wasn't me. I don't think.
Okay. But see, like
I
this
don't
one,
think.
like supposedly I had always wondered, like cups with sayings, why the saying is only on one side.
Mhm.
And apparently it's supposed to be to where the saying points towards you so you can see it versus other people seeing the saying.
So this
Things
one is
to learn.
ambidextrous. Got grateful on this side and on this side.
Nice.
That's cool.
Ambidextrous.
Yeah.
Guess
Yeah,
what the word of the week
ambidextrous.
just changed to? The word of the week is now
Ambidextrous. Whoever can spell it correctly first gets a prize.
without
Yeah.
Googling it. Oh,
Right.
man.
Oh, okay.
Break it down,
Let's-
Courtney.
Okay, real quick. So, our word of the week is what we're going to be discussing today. So, each Monday on our 6 a.m. calls, so way before right now, we pulled a Do 52 stick that is stamped with a verb. And Do 52 is a simple but powerful toolkit designed by House of Shine to prompt us weekly to do things mindfully and open ourselves up to new ideas. So, the whole noun verb part, it's a challenge this week, but you'll see. But this word is time. And yeah, anyway, Michelle's going to break it down for us a little farther and then we're going to pick each other's brains. But what you got, Michelle?
Yeah, so this one was hard because of the verb part of it, because typically when you think of time, you think of it in a noun as situation. So the verb definitions are plan, schedule, or arrange when something should happen or be done, perform at a particular moment, measure the time taken by a process or activity or a person doing it, and then time something out, like on a computer, when cancel an operation automatically because a predefined interval of time has passed without a certain event happening.
Hammer time.
I love that. Man, I wish you would have get
Hammer
that song
time.
ready. Yeah, we'll go out with that song.
I'm
maybe.
telling you. What do you got to hammer? What do you got to make time to hammer out today?
Yeah. I think making time. Do you even make time for your priorities? Do you take the time for yourself?
Michelle, quiet time. What does that mean to you?
Quiet time. That is such an important part of my morning quiet time. I usually set aside about an hour and a half for that every morning, and I can tell the days that I don't do it. It makes a huge difference. But what was cool is this weekend, like we had the word of the week time this morning on our morning 6 a.m. call. And I went back and was looking at my notes from my quiet time this weekend, and time was the subject. So it was really weird that was our word of the week today. And it was that time, like what I came up with on Saturday was time is nothing. And I talked a little bit about it on a Facebook Live this morning, that I was really battling in my mind time because I'm not as far along business-wise financially as I wanted to be by this point this year. And so I'm like frustrated with that. But there was a scripture I read in my quiet time on Saturday that was Psalm 90. And it says, for 1,000 years, for 1,000 years in your sight are as but yesterday when it is past. So basically meaning that when you get there, when you reach that goal, when you get to where I want to be right now, where I'm not yet, once I get there, looking back, it's not going to matter that I hit it within a specific amount of time. It's not going to matter that it took longer. It's just going to matter that I got there. at that point when I get there. So that's kind of where that came from.
And that's the thing. We always put pressure on us that this has to be achieved by this amount of time. With January 1st, 2021 right around the corner, what's everyone do the first week of January?
New Year's resolutions, which is that where we were going? No.
Yeah, New Year's
But-
resolutions, goals for the beginning of the year, goals that we anticipate on achieving by the end of the year.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting, just the idea that future us will have more time. Like we just assume we'll have more time in the future. We'll have more time next week, next month, next whatever. But logistically, is that true? No, it's not. You're just going to be you a month from now or a year from now, So it goes back to, I don't know, we feel like we can cheat the system just to say, well, I'll do that later because you assume future you has more time. You're actually shooting yourself in the foot because future you does not have more time, probably has just as much goals, maybe might get more overwhelmed with more on their plate, but it's just this whole pushing it off. You're cheating yourself. So actually making time, even if it's 5 minutes, Michelle, you were talking about 30 minutes a day on your YouTube, on your videos, on your mastermind, and that's where it started. But look what you built, just taking that initiative. So
yeah.
What if we didn't time ourselves? What if you would just let go of the concept of time?
It would relieve a lot of pressure.
It really would.
It would
wouldn't
save a lot of stress.
And I'm not saying be late for meetings or anything like that. I'm just saying, what if we didn't put that this is what Jessie just typed. She literally took my thought. Yes, we have our own expectations, LOL. They are always set with very high standards. Yeah. What if we let go of that expectation of time?
Man, what would we do with all those creative juices instead of stressing about your next move? That's a great question.
Does time play a role? Yes, obviously.
Yeah.
We can't deny the power of time. Things have to be timely.
Like I would say I do better under pressure of a deadline. Way better. And that kind of came up this morning too, but does it help or does it hurt? That's a great.
Yeah. Real quick, Chris says, what would you worry about then? What would you like? How many of our stresses and thoughts that don't help us are revolved around time?
Or not being good enough by a certain time.
Or not accomplishing something by a certain time.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just accomplishing it when it's done. Obviously, there's going to be deadlines. You can't eliminate deadlines. There's going to be deadlines. There's certain things that have to be done at a certain time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we can't totally eliminate deadlines. However, we can eliminate the thought that time controls us.
Mm-hmm. And that, I forget who brought it up this morning, but it might have been Tamara, but we overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can do in a decade. And that's a Tony Robbins quote, it really sparked some other conversation, but there's that right there. Just
that's kind of what
conquer something in a day doesn't mean you won't be the expert of the industry 10 years from now.
Yeah. That's kind of what I battled with this weekend and is the time. Like I'm not where I want to be at by this point this year, but that's maybe I overestimated what I could do in a year, but I've underestimated what I can do in a decade. So just because I'm not where I want to be right now doesn't mean 10 years from now, I'm not going to knock it out of the park if I don't quit. That's the key.
Man, because it's a relentless cycle of, I didn't get it accomplished by this time that you set for yourself. No one else set it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and then, I didn't make it by this time, so I guess I'm just going to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that it's not done or that it's a failure. It's that it's a not yet.
Mm-hmm.
It'll happen when it happens.
Yeah.
And
when is the time right? The time will be right when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Always.
You won't know unless you're actively showing up in a prepared state. Like I would argue that the key to success is just keep showing up with that thing that resonates with you and get better every time. Just keep showing up, but on time, So it's, I don't know, when we think about the term on time and being a successful human, who lives their life on time. It's something you literally draw, put a definition to, put a meaning to, like, oh, I have to be at this place at this certain time. And then you do it. And then you feel proud of yourself. So it's just funny that we don't do that with ourselves. Like, okay, here's a goal. I'm going to do it. I'm going to, and just mark it off. But it's all up here. The good and the bad of it. It's all up here. It's fascinating.
Real quick, let's go to the comments. Chris says, a lot of times, he didn't say that, I said that myself. A lot of times when we're at, a lot of times where we're at didn't happen overnight. And it's funny that the expectation of how quickly you can overcome, say, 10 years of bad habits in 6 months, it can be a very defeating feeling.
Yeah. So you didn't get here overnight. How do you expect to turn it around overnight?
Correct.
That's something I talk to my clients about is, a lot of my clients are trying to lose weight and they didn't get there overnight. They can't lose the weight overnight. It's going to take time. They can't change those habits overnight.
But we sure do expect it, don't we?
We sure do. Takes time to rewire our brain. It takes time.
Instant gratification culture. And then we're angry that our own body chemistry doesn't work that same way.
Yeah.
Nature has its way. It doesn't happen as quick. And it's not like the bad habits sneak up on us.
No, they don't.
It's not like we're
snatched.
like, oh, like, hey, if you just give it a little bit of awareness and pay attention,
out there.
know it's happening. You know when you're not feeling good.
Which discernment, and if we could ask Michelle to tell the fruits of the spirit, but yeah, you're very good, Michelle, at, I had this thought and it didn't feel good, so you don't do it. Whereas a lot of us, would put me in this box that, like, sometimes I still have this feeling where I'm like, I shouldn't do that. As I'm like, la, 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 like chasing the carrot, So, but yeah, would you review those real quick or just talk for a second about how you read that in the moment with yourself?
My barometer. And I have not perfected it, by the way, because I still have those moments too, but they're behind. It's the background from my logo, but it's love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So if you're not experiencing all of those things in the moment, all of them, because it's all the fruit. If you're not experiencing all of that, if there's one of those things that's missing, or you're experiencing something that is not one of those things, then something's off. And that's my barometer. It's like, if I don't feel that, the fruit of the spirit, then I know I need to shift something, either my mindset or my actions or whatever, but I need to stop and take a look at it. I need to take time. I need to take a minute and figure out, okay, where am I off here?
So if something doesn't match that blueprint of your soul, would you give time to it?
Ooh.
You shouldn't.
In my opinion. Would you?
Oftentimes, yes, I will, and I do, and we all do. Yeah.
We all do. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah. I love it every time she said it. So, time. Like, what are you giving your time to? Does it fill you up? Does it drain you? Just make a list and adjust accordingly, We make time a lot more complicated than it actually is. We really do. Like, Michelle, you brought it up this morning. The meme I'm thinking of is you have the same amount of hours in a day as Beyonce, but we talked about a lot more prestigious figures this morning, but it's a lot more simple than we think it is.
So you think time is overcomplicated?
I think it's not necessarily easy. It's simple. It's a simple idea that we complicate as humans. And because we're justifying why we didn't do this or why we didn't do it in this time frame or why we're justifying things that all lay back to our expectations we laid on it. So once again, it's up to our terms as to did we fail or succeed in this. But it's just all these cluster of ideas that we're laying on a simple concept that doesn't have to be complicated at all. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
So here's the thing. Let me bring this around to my best teacher, my mentor, my 7-year-old son, Sebastian. He is my greatest teacher My greatest mentor out of everybody that I've ever learned anything from, I think he's the one that ends up teaching me the most. So we have these things where we're like, hey, you need to go do your schoolwork, or hey, you need to go do this. And instead, he decides to fight us and argue with us and try to reason with us. Well, if I go do that now, then there's all these negotiations. And I'm like, this isn't a negotiation, son. We're not negotiating. So it comes down to me saying, you do realize you're taking more time to get out of doing it than it would have taken you to go do it, right? No, that's not true. No, it is very true. You're making it very complicated. And I said, so then I asked him, who are you making it more complicated for, me or you? Me. So wouldn't it be a lot easier and more efficient if you just go take care of that real quick? Yes. And then he gets, let me do my impression.
And he's a mentor, Ricardo. So
yeah, he really is. Like so that's really what he looks like.
Yeah,
and now he's got his two front teeth missing. So he's like with his two front teeth missing, and he'll go do it, and then he'll come back and be like, that only took a minute. Yes. And how long did you stay arguing about it for? Like 200 minutes. Not really. It was like 5. But his perception of time is very skewed. And I think it's because he doesn't understand time yet. And if you think about it, when we were 7, we didn't have digital clocks. We had to kind of understand the concept of time. But he's a little behind on understanding the actual concept of time and what a minute is versus a day versus a week. And it's either way overestimated or way underestimated. We're going to Longview. Yeah, so we will be back in 5 minutes. No.
Far from that.
No.
Beam me up.
Yeah.
No, we won't be back in 5 minutes. But it's interesting to see how he processes and thinks about time.
I think what you said something huge in that whole story about Sebastian. And that's that if we would just I do it all the time. It's like I spend more time going back and forth over, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this, but I'm going to do this instead. And if I would just get up and do it, it'd be done. So I spend so much more time just battling actually doing it than it would take to just do it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's a mantra I probably repeat this to myself 10 times a day as of right now. Like, it only takes a minute. It only takes a minute. I'm talking about all kinds of things, but logistically, I mean, maybe, yeah, stuff with work. Sometimes like a set of quotes can take a few hours. That's true. Aside from that, everything else in my life takes maybe 5 minutes, 1 minute, 3 minutes. It takes so much less. So that's where I'll just kind of walk around and be like, oh, I don't want to do this. I'm like, it's only going to take 1 minute, So that whole, like, we do it as adults so well because we've applied all these experiences to match and mirror why we don't want to get right on it. But once again, it just probably will take 1 minute,
It's like unloading the dishwasher.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to do it. I'll do it later. I'll do it
when
later.
You're thinking like that, it feels like it'll take half an hour, right?
Yeah. And it takes 2 minutes to do it.
That's actually, I'll set like a 2-minute timer. And I'm like, I wonder if I can have this completely unloaded. Like, set timers.
So you challenge yourself.
Yeah. Set timers. I love timers just because I love timers. Okay. Yeah. So I didn't even think about this subject this morning, but like, I'll take a picture of like a messy area in my house and set a timer for 10 minutes. And even if I don't finish it, I'll take another picture, and it's that instant gratification of just swiping left and seeing it's cleaner. Okay. But like, yeah, I do that with all kinds of things. Like, exercise, just move your body for 5 minutes, set a timer for 5 minutes. And usually I don't stop after 5, because then the motivation has showed up and it feels good to keep moving. So yeah, just like set timers. They're fun. Clean. Okay, we were talking about
Timers
timers
don't
this
sound very
morning.
fun, but go ahead.
I'm like, can
I
y'all?
just feel like
Okay,
interject. You keep on
this
saying
is a
timers
girl
are fun.
who
I'm like, oh,
I do
let me
think
think
timers
about
are
that.
fun. Literally, like I have two different, like, since our chat this morning, timers, one for 1 minute, one for 3 minutes in my Amazon cart. But I have a 24-hour purchase rule for Amazon things. So anyway, but point being, the tip, I'm sorry, let me focus. Okay. The tip this morning, if somebody's like, yeah, hey, do you have 5 minutes? Be like, oh, I got one. So we were talking a lot about time management this morning, but that's what sparked me wanting an actual stand timer.
Hourglass. So you actually got
Hourglass.
hourglass.
Yes. And so, yeah, basically, if a friend calls and it's like, hey, you got a minute, hold them to that minute. Maybe give them 2, but like your time's important, their time's important. Neither of you need to be sitting around complaining about your life for extended periods of time. Okay. Stop it. It's not helping either of you manifest what you want. So that's kind of where, like, oh, okay. Yeah. So the joke this morning was when somebody calls and, yeah.
What I just heard was call Courtney before she gets her hourglasses.
No, y'all know I
Yeah.
love you. Like, there's one friend that we don't talk for any less than like 4 hours whenever we do. So it might be every few months, but when we do, we make up for it. So
That's one of the things that we talked about this morning on our call is when you're timed, it drives your focus. And
Yes.
so when you do set a timer, then you're focused. And that's one thing I've been trying to implement in my day with my business is we call it a power hour. And you just sit down, you have 0 distractions, you don't answer the phone, you don't check email, you don't check text messages, you have no distractions, and you just focus for that 1 hour, set a timer. And it's amazing how accomplished you feel when you do that, but you're zoned in, you're very focused. And so you're very efficient instead of chit-chatting for the first 15 minutes and then getting focused. It's like you're zoned in and focused and you get so much done.
So
and
there's
like you said this morning, do you typically stop right after the hour? Or do
No.
you tend to keep going? Yeah.
Usually keep going.
The juices are going.
So there's
yeah.
actually some science behind that. And I don't have the paper and I forgot where the paper was. I read a paper about that, but there's actually some science behind the whole timer thing and focus. And if you go online and look, I don't know, it's starting to become a thing. People are releasing, like, as a mind hack, a lot of companies are starting to release these timers they have different things. Some of them have sand, some of them have little beads in them that make a soothing sound, but it's still a timer. And it's supposed to help you control your focus and focus for that specific amount of time. But there's like some science behind it. I can't quote it right now, so I don't even know why I brought it up on this podcast. But there is like some actual neurological science behind the fact that when you time yourself to work on something for a specific amount of time, it does help drive and control your focus. Because somehow or another, and I forget the technical part of it, but the mind doesn't think of it as hours. Because one of the first things that we think about when we start to do something is that's going to take
time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no concept for time. The mind is just like, when that could be 1 hour, that could be 12 hours. I don't have 12 hours to sit here.
One of the things I heard recently on Andrew Huberman, y'all know I love him, on his one of the podcasts he was on, is he talks about how our brains don't really, like what you're saying, understand the concept of time. So correct. For instance, whenever you're in fight or flight mode, when you're stressed out, like you're at the airport and you're about to miss your flight and you're going through security, everything in front of you slows down and it feels like it's taking forever, where really it's taking the same amount of time it normally would. It just feels like it's really slow. Or if you get behind a car in traffic, you're trying to get somewhere, it feels like everybody's going slow, but they're really not. And then vice versa, whenever you're in chill mode, things kind of seem to speed up. So it's like our brain does the opposite of what we're looking for.
Observation as you were talking. So it's okay. So when you are at the fight or flight mode in the airport, your brain is in the future. It's in panic mode, anxiety of what could go wrong. You need to do this right now, so this doesn't happen, right? Whereas when you're in chill mode, you're where your feet are. Be where your
Yeah.
feet are. That's where I'm going with this, by the way. It's be where your feet are. So what I just heard you break down was that if you are there and present in the moment, time tends to go faster. Like when time flies when you're having fun, cliche, right? But if you're not, it slows down. So when you're in regret or if you're in panic mode, aka future, past or present emotions, it's slowing it down. Like
When you
that.
meditate, if you sit down and meditate and put on a 45-minute meditation, does it feel like 45 minutes?
No.
No.
So if you're present, time moves more melodically in sync with you, how you, excuse me, how you think it should. So whether that's slower, faster, you make that decision for your situation, but it'll help if you're more in the moment. It helps bring it back home. I'm forgetting what term I'm trying to think of, but like be where your feet are plays a role in how fast or slow time goes.
Real quick, we got a comment. Margot.
Good morning, Margot.
Hi, Margot. You want me to read it?
I was reading it myself, so you take it, Michelle.
It seems that the more time I have to do something, the longer I will put it off. Trying to stop that habit. Working better under pressure is not as cool as it sounds.
That is
we lost Ricardo.
Hopefully
working better under pressure is not as cool as it sounds. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Hey.
So Margot, so your line trying to stop that habit. So what thought could you replace that with? Or what we're calling them identity statements right now because the program that Ricardo has us on. But what line could you replace that with? So when you see that habit pop up, you can like recite a mantra to yourself that, I'm trying to quit that habit. Like, okay, it can be that I do things the second I get motivated to like replace it with a line that's involves I am, but take out the word trying and pair it to another habit. But yeah, that's a great point.
Let's see here. Catching up. She says working better under pressure is not as cool as it sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's stressful.
Yeah,
it is.
Some level of stress is healthy and pushes you, but at some point there's a breaking point for that where it throws you over and it's unhealthy.
Yeah, one of the things about peak performance is if you picture a bell curve, there's a point to where the stress that you put on yourself actually increases performance, but there's a point on the other side of the bell where it actually decreases performance. And it's different for everyone depending on the situation. And this has been proven like with mice and other humans that we have this bell curve when it comes to peak performance, and everyone's different on that bell.
One of the things Margot is alluding to here too is that we talked a lot about this morning is procrastination. So it's like, why do we procrastinate? Are we a procrastinator? Is that part of our identity?
Or are we really procrastinating? Yeah.
Yeah. And she came back with, so that's a great line. She said, perhaps I should continually say there's no time like the present. Oh, well, yeah. So see, that's what I do with myself is I'm like, there's magic right now. Okay. Even though like, I don't feel like it might take 5 minutes for me to flip that switch in my brain, but motivation will come. And I'm just a big fan of, we confuse that motivation is the first step and we need to wait and wait and wait for it. And that's a lie. Really, you need to get up, get started. Motivation will come. It might not be step 2. It might be step 3, but get your shoes on, get out, start walking. A few minutes in, you're going to hit the motivation. So exactly. Yeah. No time like the present. I'm going to use that one with you, Margaret. Yeah. Oh, and one question for you guys. Is time on our side or is time not on our side?
Whew. How much time do we have?
Great question. We never know. Yeah.
I think that we try to compete against time because it's always like, well, I got to be there on time. It's a competition. Can I beat the clock? Can I be there at this place, at this appointment by this time? That's a competition, right? Mm-hmm. It's a competition, but I don't think it should be a competition because you're never going to win. Time don't care.
Yeah.
I promise you, time and the universe does not care if you beat it or not. Either you're on time or you're not on time. It's pretty black and white. So
Mhm.
to think that it's a competition to beat the clock is not true. So I
I
think in that
appreciate that.
sense, time is on your side.
Yeah.
But
See, because
time
I was
also
one
doesn't
that was
care.
on the opposite this morning when I brought this up. But yeah, it's flipped it to that I had a negative connotation towards time by nature because I was like, no, it's not on your side. You need to get up, get after it. Like, that's all true. Get up, get after it, do your thing. But the beating ourselves up, like Michelle, your quiet time this weekend, coming to the realization that maybe you're still prepping for something greater than you planned. And that's still, the flavors are still marinating, the creative juices are still coming, even though you're getting there, obviously,
A
it's
great
obvious that.
thought here is time's never going to slow down. Like right here, we're at 30 minutes and 21 seconds, and it's counting up. It's not going to stop.
Nope.
No,
And even after we end the broadcast, guess what?
never stops.
Time's still going to go.
What are we doing with it?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle, final thoughts time.
I just think realizing that we have the same, Courtney mentioned it earlier, everyone has the same amount of time. I have the same amount of time as Tony Robbins. I have the same amount of time as Warren Buffett. I have the same amount of time as everyone else. And so it's what we do with our time that matters.
Mm-hmm.
Boom.
Yeah.
Courtney.
Okay. Well, I was giving googly eyes at what Michelle just said. So yeah, just get up. It's good. Done is better than perfect. Done is the new perfect. Like just get it done and you'll be able to actually live your life. Whereas if you're waiting for fill in the blank, I'm going to do it when, that's some BS and that's lying to you and it's withholding your dreams in a little cage from you. So just understand that you have the power, deep breath, get it done. No one said perfect. You can still strive for perfection, but done is better than waiting 5 years for it to be perfect. So nobody's going to care in 5 years. So, and I'm talking to myself. So if I just offended anyone, by the way, I'm talking to myself. And I do want to point out, John Nelson had an amazing comment as well, that cortisol versus dopamine, stress versus that motivational victory. So kind of weird when Ricardo was talking about the bell curve and some healthy stress, John paired the hormonal chemical soup to it.
Yeah.
Chemical soup. I love it. Oh, man.
What are your final thoughts?
I think for me, time is not a competition. You're not going to win. You got to work with time. You're not going to beat time. You're not going to defeat time. Time's not trying to beat you. Time doesn't care if you make it or not. It's just there. You either choose to work with it or you choose not to work with it. But it's not your enemy. It's not your enemy, and it's not your hero either. It's just there.
Yeah. And it's not going to save the day. Time does heal. That is true. But it's not the savior. You're your own savior.
Correct. But you still have to work with it. You have no choice but to work with time.
Yeah.
And that's just because the constraints that time puts on us. We're only here for a limited time.
It's honestly a precious resource.
It is.
Yeah. That's what I was going to kind of bring it back home with. And look, we have today. We were gifted today.
Think about how many more Mondays we have left in the year. And then we're going to start a whole new set of Mondays.
Yes.
All right. Man. This was great, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. Comment below. Let us know what do you drink? What are you guys drinking whenever you listen to the podcast? Comment below. Let us know. Is it coffee? Is it tea? Maybe you're drinking a little bit of whiskey this early in the morning.
We don't
early on Monday morning.
No judgment. No judgment. We love you. Real quick, let's go to the comments. Ryan Warren, thank you so much for tuning in, Ryan.
Hello, Ryan.
I know y'all are wrapping up. Yes, we are. One of the things that's helped me is telling another person I'm going to do something. It creates that accountability.
Mm-hmm.
It creates that pressure.
Yeah.
It creates that pressure when you tell another person what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Because
accountability partners.
Yep. At some level, we'd rather let ourselves down than let someone else down. And that's okay. It works. But eventually we got to get to the work where we don't let ourselves down either.
Yeah.
And that's where some good stuff will happen. Thank you for
where the
tuning in,
magic
Ryan.
happens. Yes. Coffee, all the coffee.
Coffee.
Hey, I'm still looking for dozens of ways to dress it up. So, hey.
Yeah.
Hydrate before you caffeinate.
Boom. Courtney Carr. Thank you so much for tuning. Oh, go ahead.
Like and share, Courtney.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Like and share. And we will actually be drawing the name on Wednesday because I think we forgot until just now. Okay. So one more chance to share. Okay. So hashtag Force for Growth. If you will share this on any platform and use the hashtag Force for Growth, it's a chance to win Tony and Sage Robbins' Ultimate Relationship Program. And if you are listening on Apple and you leave us a review as some feedback, that is how you enter to win. So there are no limits. You can have as many entries as you would like. And we will actually draw it on Wednesday next time.
Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you, Michelle, for reminding us.
And we'll be back on Wednesday.
Yes. So excited.
Have a great day, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.